like to help.
Spencer Callahan is the one to see. Call 387-2323.
LA 21-12671. Offices in Baton Rouge.
WNXX, Jackson, KNXX, Donaldsonville, and WDGL HD2 Baton Rouge. This hour brought to you by Spencer Callahan Injury Lawyers. LA 21-12681. Offices in Baton Rouge. 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge. Anytime. Anytime. A daily look at sports from our resident historian. Your sports break during your lunch break. Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studios. Here's Charles Hanegraaff.
And welcome you into another edition of Anytime 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge. Charles Hanegraaff, Mario Jerez, Taylor Sharp, Scott Rabalais with us here in about 15 minutes. Brian Kelly on the teleconference, kind of giving a catch-all update on LSU's off week. We'll get to that in a second. First class, second class, no class at the bottom of the hour. Did you watch the Pels last night? All right. They beat the Mavs 113-111 without Zion Williamson, without Brandon Ingram, without Herb Jones. When we left here yesterday, we knew that none of those three were going. In fact, when we got here yesterday, we knew none of those three were going to play. And I think the Pelicans knew it probably the day before that. And so they go in as underdogs in their own building. This is a division rival and somebody who, frankly, has owned them, 11 of the last 13. And the Pels came out with the type of energy that you normally see in, I'm going to say, a postseason game. And it, for me, from the very jump, Jose Alvarado came out there and sort of set a tone. He was in the starting lineup last night, and he came out and he couldn't miss. And Trey Murphy didn't miss the whole night. But Alvarado, I thought early on, and look, Valanciunas got some buckets inside, and obviously they got their points from Murphy, and Najee Marshall had a good offensive night for him, and he was forced with trying to guard Luka for most of his time on the floor last night. But I thought Alvarado came out there like he always does, except it's usually not in the starting lineup, and just, man, there's that energy. There's that intensity. This is NBA basketball in October, which we usually pay zero attention to. And we're paying attention because they're paying attention. The Pelicans have gotten off to so many bad starts over the last 4 or 5 years that by the time we start to pay attention to them, they've usually put themselves into such a hole that it's like you're either rooting for ping pong balls or you were hoping beyond hope that they would scratch and claw their way back into maybe the back end of the playoffs, which is, the play-in, what they did last year. This felt like they really wanted this game because they, as a roster, had something to prove without these three guys on the floor. And so you get 8 players go into double figures last night. Marshall does what he can on Doncic. Okay, Doncic is one of the top 5 players in the league. And while, he had a monster night scoring, he did not have a monster night shooting from three-point range, which is where he can really kill you, okay? The guy gets 37 points last night, but he shoots 2 of 13 from three-point range, including the contested 3 at the end. So the intensity from jump, I thought, was huge, and I thought Alvarado did a lot to set that tone. But they got contributions from all over the place last night. Jaden Daniels, the first-round pick, who had not scored in the first 3 games, was not really playing a whole lot, needed to give them some minutes last night, and he did. It wasn't all perfect. He's kind of he's in his first few week of NBA basketball. Devontae Graham, who we have written off, and when I say we, I mean me, because they spent a whole bunch of money on him last year, and he just kind of figured to be one of the back end of the rotation guys. He comes in, he makes 4 threes last night. He'd only made 2 threes the entire season before that, in the 3 games before that. If you had asked me yesterday what the Pels needed to get a win against the Mavs in a game where Jones, Ingram, and Williamson weren't going to play, I'd have told you they needed a big night from C.J. McCollum. Didn't get it. Not offensively anyway, until the fourth quarter where he's 3 for 15 and he really can't buy one. And Stan Van Gundy, of all people, is on the broadcast, and he says, these are the guys that scare me. The guys that are stars, can score, and they just go ice cold for 3 quarters, and then they're not going to miss them all. There's going to be some shots. And for about a 3.5-minute period there in the fourth quarter, C.J. McCollum went back to being C.J. McCollum, and he hit 3 shots, I think, in 4 or 5 trips. They were all important. And though the Pelicans had led for, a good portion, they had 40 points in the first quarter, they find themselves down in the fourth quarter, and they gotta claw back. And they got big buckets from Trey Murphy. They got big plays from Larry Nance. You look through this whole roster, and everybody that was on the floor last night had something positive to contribute. For the moment, we'll leave Jackson Hayes' ball handling out of it. But everything else was fantastic. And they put that forth, that kind of effort, and the building was into it, okay? But maybe it's a little bit to do with the Saints are, not doing well right now, or people are rediscovering the Pelicans and saying, hey, man, there's really something going on here. They identify with this team. But the building was hopping. You don't get that's not automatic in October. In fact, it's usually automatic the other way. It's basketball. It's everybody kind of getting into the groove of the season, unless you're Phoenix and Golden State and you want to fight, okay, because you got some old scores to settle. I mean, if you get Klay Thompson riled up, okay, it's one thing to get Draymond Green riled up. You get Klay Thompson riled up, you've really accomplished something, because that guy's about as even-keeled as it gets. He and Booker went at it in the nightcap. I watched about half of that before sleep took over. But big win for the Pels from a confidence standpoint. There's going to be times this year where they don't have certain players. And you certainly hope that there's not very many where they're down 3 starters for a game. But to know that you can go in and play Dallas like that, that's I can't just imagine what that does for their confidence. 6 of the next 7 on the road. So we knew when the schedule came out, we talked about it at the time, that the first 17 games were just going to be hard. Just get out of that without getting your head ripped off. Well, so far, so good. Pelicans with a nice win last night. Brian Kelly enjoying the off week. What did I tell you about? Hey, you win the game against Ole Miss, you get 2 weeks worth of, hey, what a great job you're doing. This is really nice. You lose that game, and it's 2 weeks worth of you guys stink, and Alabama's going to beat you even worse. Luckily, it's the former. So Kelly and the Tigers enjoying what he's calling a recovery week.
This is a recovery week for us, and using it obviously to do some self-scouting, recruiting, and for our players, we get on the field a couple of times, we get in the weight room, and then kind of reset mentally and physically. We've had a long month with 4 SEC opponents. That is, a difficult run for anybody, and get this opportunity that allows us now to prepare ourselves for another run of 4 consecutive games that are going to challenge us. So really looking to accomplish a little bit more of the mental and physical reset than anything else with this off week.
It's difficult to give you an idea of their schedule from the day they report in August until the off week, because it includes almost no off days. Now, it doesn't mean that, they're doing football 12 hours every single day, but when you don't ever get a single day off, and Sundays, believe me, are not a day off, okay? There's treatment, there's stretching, there's some film work. It's always on your mind. You don't get to completely unplug. Have you ever gone 60, 70, 80 days without a single day off? Where there were days where they were lighter than others, but there was never a single day off. You get worn down. This break comes in. Somebody asked me earlier in the week about where the bye, or maybe it was in the post game, about where the bye comes, and do you really want the bye before Alabama every year? The bye is not I know that's why they do it, but I like the idea of where it comes in the schedule. I think it comes at a perfect time. If it was a week earlier, that'd be okay. But You don't want it in September. You don't want it in November. The break comes at the perfect time. Self-scouting, always one of our favorite topics. Me and Jimmy love to talk about self-scouting sometimes. The one thing that they are trying to self-scout is, why do they start so doggone slow?
We've looked at virtually everything, from the bus ride in to what we serve for pregame meal. We think it's much more mental than it is physical, and we just need to really focus on not making those mental mistakes early on in games, because we know physically we're able to do the things necessary to be successful, but clearly we can't continue to do that. Thank God they don't call the game after the first quarter, or we wouldn't be where we are.
It's all mental. If you're good enough to play physically in the last 3 quarters or the last 2 quarters, you're good enough to play in the first quarter. So it's mental. Imagine you're as intelligent a man as Brian Kelly going through your whole pregame checklist. What are we serving at pregame meal? Are we serving the stringy hash browns? Or are we serving the chunk hash browns? Does it matter? Do we have ketchup with the hash browns for those people that want ketchup with the hash browns? Are we okay there? How are we getting on the bus? Seniors first, all the way down to freshmen. We get the offense on the bus first, or the defense on the bus first. We're putting the starters on the bus first and the backups after that. What about the guys who might start if we're in a certain formation? The minutia of going through and trying to find out why you're starting slow. And I hate to break it to him, but they're not likely to find one thing or 2 things that has them starting slow. Not from all the routine. You look at all of it. You try to find, it's like, hey, you know what? It's taken us 3 extra minutes to get to the stadium because we go this way. We could avoid a red light. We get there 3 minutes earlier, changes everything. It doesn't. But I applaud them for going to look for reasons. I forgot who the guy was on the DiNardo staff. I think it was Hal Hunter. He blamed it all on the movie. He was joking, of course. But he says, he was the interim coach for 1 game back in 1998, the last game of the 98 season, and LSU had been having a miserable year. Went out and just blew Arkansas clear out of Tiger Stadium. They looked like they were having fun and all that. Hal Hunter's like, hey, man, what's different for you? You get to be the head coach. What does that mean for you? You're going to be the head coach of LSU for 1 week. What does it mean? He goes, I get to pick the movie. What movie did you pick? He goes, well, James Bond. We're going to watch James Bond. He says, we watched this sappy Harrison Ford love movie earlier in the year. That was terrible. We're gonna watch something like Random Hearts. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna watch James Bond. So they watched James Bond and they beat the hell out of Arkansas. Obviously that was why, right? It's not. But if you think it is, you think you're hitting because you're getting. Never mind. Stay out of trouble here. Anyway, they're gonna go on the road recruiting, but not him.
I will not be on the road. My assistants obviously will be doing it. I'm, doing a lot of my work from the office here in terms of calls and certainly texting and doing those things. It's sometimes hard for me to get out to enough, and if I do 1 or 2, then somebody feels like they've been left out in that situation. So we felt strategically that it would be best if I just try to get to as many recruits through the phone and through texting. So, handle that and get our guys that, are still going to be here, get a chance to meet with all of them as well.
Whatever you think, dude. I'm not going to tell this guy how to recruit. He thinks he can recruit better from the office with the staff out on the road rather than get out there and maybe offend somebody. Look, modern day recruiting's got so many layers. If he thinks that recruiting's going fine, if he thinks that's what he needs to do, go right ahead. Injury reports, Major Burns and Jack Besh.
Major will be non-contact for the rest of the week, and then he'll be cleared for Monday. So we're excited about that for Major. So he is in the game plan to play against Alabama. Jack is going to stay around here. He's not going to go home. He'll be here all weekend preparing. I asked him yesterday, I said, what's your feeling about Alabama? He goes, no doubt I'll be playing. So I think that's the mentality that he has.
So good news on Burns, good news on Besh. John Emery, he later went on to say, is day-to-day with an Achilles. So the news mostly good from the injury standpoint. There, you're briefed. Rab with us when we come back. This is Hanny Time, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is Hanny Time.
Look, one of the biggest problems that business owners are having these days is staffing, between the interviews, the background checks, the payroll expenses. Look, man, this is just something that you would like to have done for you so that you can get back to work. Tiger Labor and Staffing will take care of all your screening, all your training, all your payroll, all your employment expenses. You can focus on the things that you want to focus on in your business. You're not going to be wasting time where you schedule half a dozen interviews and only 2 people show up. Tiger Labor and Staffing, they'll make no call, no show a thing of the past. They'll handle the interview process. They'll handle the onboarding. If you need somebody for a week, a day, a month, you can control your labor expenses, increase your flexibility. In your peak seasons, we get the holiday season come up. If you need extra laborers during the holiday season, they can help you during those times as well. Tiger Labor and Staffing, welcoming skilled and unskilled labor. They'll match you with a job that fits. Quick turnaround on pay, so you can get your work done without all the worries. Tiger Labor and Staffing, go to tigerlabor.com.
Our listeners fire off their opinions on the jimsfirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the jimsfirearms.net hotline on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Bayou Ford has $10,000 off MSRP plus 2.9% for 60 months on new 2022 Ford F-150s. All new Bayou vehicles come with a 1 million mile powertrain warranty and free delivery. If you need sales or service, the crew at Bayou Ford is going to do right by you.
Order curbside pickup online or with Rouse's Market Shopping app and let Rouse's personal shopper shop for you. Curbside pickup is free and you pay the same price for groceries as in-store. Use code SAINTS20 and save $20 on orders of $100 or more. That's curbside convenience. Shopper style.
Oh, yeah! Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
Oh, hey, what's up? It's Big D and Bubba, 100.7 The Tiger Morning Show. We'd love for you to join us every weekday, 4 a.m. till 9 a.m.
Yeah, everything you want in a show. Country music. We got laughs. We got celebrity in-studio guests. We just need you.
Join us every weekday morning, 4 a.m. to 9 a.m., right where it all started.
That's right. Louisiana's country station, 100.7 The Tiger.
ServiceMaster Elite create clean, disinfected work environments. As a local business, we take pride in serving the New Orleans and Baton Rouge areas. Our cleaning protocols follow CDC and OSHA standards for healthcare settings, offices, senior living, restaurants, and industrial plants. Contact ServiceMaster Elite to get your operation ready for reopening with germ disinfection cleaning. ServiceMaster Elite, the trusted choice in professional cleaning since 1996.
This isn't just another day. It's so much more. Kelly's life was put on hold when her auctioneer primary care doctor discovered a rare blood disorder. Her doctor connected her to an auctioneer care team of cancer, heart, and kidney specialists. With multiple primary care locations around Baton Rouge, same-day appointments, and online scheduling, we're relentless about keeping you healthy. Auctioneer Baton Rouge, innovating healthcare for Kelly.
Le posso offrire un caffè? Andiamo insieme da me, non c'è.
In the prep football season, and we get started Friday night at 6 with Louisiana Prep Preview, presented by the Baton Rouge Orthopedic Clinic. Catholic Eye in Scotlandville kick off at 7, and that's immediately followed by the Lake Urgent Care, Total Occupational Medicine, Louisiana Prep Scoreboard Show on YouTube, Your View, and 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is Hanny Time with Charles Hannegriff on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Hannycast podcast available 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge, and you can get it at Apple, Spotify, Monday through Thursday. We got a preview coming up later today. Potential upsets in the Southeastern Conference this weekend, and why maybe some of them shouldn't be, but that'll be on the podcast to be dropped later this afternoon. We bring in Scott Rabalais from the Advocate. Rab, how you doing?
Well, Charles, I'm here on campus playing that popular game, hunting for a parking spot on the LSU campus. But it's I got some press conference today with women's basketball and some of the other sports. But it's a beautiful day. It's a beautiful day here in South Louisiana. We actually had a little rain yesterday, good for the yard. And it's only 159 days till the start of Masters Week, Charles.
Oh, well, that's
keeping you
fantastic.
on the downhill slide.
I will sleep better knowing that. The women's basketball press conference, I know she can't speak about her recruiting class, but that was big news, getting another top 10 player in the country, and she's got 2 of them now. It's a little bit of a contrast from the previous coach's recruiting efforts, I would say. Just a touch.
Charles, you are the master of understatement and sarcasm.
Yeah.
Yeah, just a little bit. Yeah, Ayala Del Rosario, a 6'5", 6'6" post player from the Webb School in Bell Buckle, Tennessee. You can't make up a name of a place like that. So people would just say you're just being ridiculous.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, it's like a prep school, obviously. And they already got a player, Velez, her teammate, point guard, earlier in the cycle, and then they got her. And
they go with Michaela Williams, who was number 1 player.
Yes.
So
yeah, so it's 2. They got 2 of the top 7. They're the only school currently with 2 players on the ESPN Hoop Girls 100 with 2 players in the top 10, and then they have 2 other top 100 recruits. So it's going pretty well. And this is going to be one of the very best classes in the country, and she'll still have room to sign up to get a transfer or 2 if she wants to. But Kim's game is predicated on having great post play, and they're going to be very good this year, Charlie. And when they get this girl in, probably to play alongside Angel Reese, who today got preseason All-SEC coaches honors, transfer from Maryland, who was the number 2 player in the country 2 years ago. Next year, they're going to be fantastically good, assuming somebody can run the point.
All right, and no question about any of that stuff. All right, Rab, let's talk about where this LSU football team is at the break, and I'm trying to draw comparisons maybe to other seasons, and this one might be a little bit ambitious, but 2001, which ended up being an SEC championship season, and that's why I hesitate to bring that one up, but because I don't necessarily think LSU is going to win the SEC championship this year. But from a standpoint of at one point in the season in 2001, they had lost a game to Tennessee, which was disappointing. It was a 1-score game. It was a Kelly Washington game. And then they go get blown out by Florida. I mean, they just get absolutely blown out. And it was at the beginning of October. It was a little bit earlier than the Tennessee game was this year. But then they won a couple of games. They started to feel, okay about themselves. And in the last month of the season, man, they just hit the gas, beat Alabama, beat Arkansas, beat Auburn, and found themselves in the SEC championship game. And I'm just wondering if you see any parallels between that season and this one.
Well, Charles, is often the case, you and I are of like mind. Yes, I'm very much reminded of 2001 with the loss to Tennessee and the blowout loss to Florida at home. They didn't look like they were going anywhere, and then all of a sudden they found it. They found that chemistry with the offense, and I think it seems to me, you were calling it, Saban let Jimbo Fisher, have a little more free reign with the passing games. So it was Rohan Davey to Josh Reed, and it just blew up. Reed won, of course, the Biletnikoff Award. They went all the way to the SEC championship game, win a rematch with Tennessee. And I think if LSU could win the division, it could be a rematch with Tennessee. Yeah, because they got that huge game at Georgia coming up in 2 weeks. So, but very much reminds me of that. Yeah, I think it's quite presumptuous to say this team is going to win the SEC, but they have a chance. They going into November, control their own path, control their own destiny to win the division. I kind of broke down the race in my column today. You know, with LSU, Alabama, and Ole Miss, who's now relegated to the role of the outsider, but still in contention. And if LSU can beat Alabama, if they don't, they're not going to win the West. But if they can beat Alabama, they just probably have to split their last two conference games at Arkansas and A&M to go to the championship game. It's pretty remarkable to say. But, yeah, it does remind me of that, especially in the way the offense started to find itself in the latter parts of that season, and it carried all the way through the postseason.
It's not 100% lined up, chronologically the way it was that year. But it's got a lot of similarities. For instance, the Florida game, that was the Rex Grossman game, they got beat by 30. And that game felt a lot like the Tennessee game this year. You had I know those that watched Rex Grossman play quarterback for the Chicago Bears have a hard time remembering this, but when he was at Florida, he was pretty good. And Jabbar Gaffney was really good. And Florida just completely blew him out of Tiger Stadium the same way Tennessee did this year. They went to Kentucky. That was the Michael Clayton game. They won that one on a late touchdown. Kentucky wasn't great, but they were pesky enough. Not entirely unlike Auburn this year, where LSU found themselves behind and had to go win the thing. Then they blew out Mississippi State. Now, Mississippi State wasn't nearly as good that year as Ole Miss was this year. So, like I said, the comparison is not perfect. But when they got to November, okay, whether it was the Jimbo calling plays, and I know people today would have a hard time believing. At one time, Jimbo was an innovative offensive mind. Maybe not today, but at one point in his life, he was. You start to look at these things, and the only one I can't find a comp for was the night that they played Ole Miss in Tiger Stadium that year. I think they threw the ball 9 times in the first 3 quarters and ended up losing to Eli Manning. But the rest of that, he turned Rohan Davey loose, and it looks like LSU's ready to turn Jaden Daniels loose. I mean, they already have the last couple of weeks. So that's my analogy to 2001. I'm just asking you for affirmation or no, that's not really true.
No, you get an amen from the congregation. Yes, sir. You certainly do. And just early on, of course, I was Saban's second year and Kelly's first year. Like you said, not exactly the same. And of course, let's not forget you had the whole 9/11 thing. That's why you played Auburn. LSU played them in December, the week of the SEC championship was supposed to be. Championship game was a week later, and then LSU won that to go to the Sugar Bowl. But where they beat Illinois. But starting to see some. Speaking of bowls, starting to see some bowl projections. Charles, before the season, you had a couple of people say LSU's not making a bowl game. Especially after they beat Florida State. No, they're not making a bowl game at all. This week, going through all the bowl projections I can find, I got a couple of people have LSU in the Orange Bowl, where they have not played since the 1982 season, 40 years. And that would be something if LSU could parlay themselves into a New Year's Six bowl. That's still on the upper end of it's not likely, but it's a little more plausible than winning the SEC. That LSU could find themselves with a 9-3 season, say, and reach and reach a New Year's Six bowl, kind of like they did in 2018. So it's a very interesting. We were talking about interesting things going to November, Charles, and this is not where I thought we would be covering LSU or where they would be, but here it is, and it's obviously the game against Alabama is as big as any game in Tiger Stadium since 2019.
Yeah, well, I saw that same projection that you did, and I think it had them playing Wake Forest, which would mean that LSU, I think, have a real good chance to go in there as a favorite against Wake Forest. It'd certainly be a winnable game. Wake Forest is pretty good. And, they hung with Clemson in that game. I think it was 51-45. So they're good. They're very well coached, but it'd certainly be a very winnable game for LSU. You think they moved the Auburn game to the end of the season last year. You don't figure they could go back and say, hey, that Florida State game didn't really count, right? Weren't quite ready. Get a do-over. Move that one to the end of the season. No, probably not.
What would LSU be favored if they played Florida State now? At least a touchdown, right? I mean, LSU would be on a neutral field again. They would be a really big favorite.
In the Super, they were a 2.5 3-point favorite in the opener. It would be at least twice that. My resident odds maker is off today, but I'll see if I can get him on the phone. But yeah, I would think it would be at least double that, if not more.
But I'm just amazed that we're talking about these things regarding LSU football. And I asked Coach Kelly on the teleconference, I don't know if you touched on it. I said, do you look forward to the atmosphere of Tiger Stadium? Because this is going to be the truest Tiger Stadium atmosphere. Obviously, Saturday was a big game, but it was a day game. This could be a night game. Alabama's so much on the line. I imagine it's going to be packed. I don't say that about Tiger Stadium every game anymore because if you get to fill up Tiger Stadium completely, it takes a lot. But I think this could be packed. And Kelly's like, heck yeah. And he said, but I don't want to give then the interesting thing was that I don't want to give people the impression that this is the first and last time we're going to have a big game like this. We expect to play more games like this. And that was an interesting comment.
He's saying
exactly expecting that.
He's saying all the right things. He's very, very good, very, very measured, but at the same time lighthearted, which is not easy to pull off. I thought his the humor yesterday with the field rushing was perfect. Okay. Why would you come out and condemn that, and if you go out there and it's like yeah we want to rush the field every game, and that sends the wrong message too. I thought his message was completely perfect, and he was funny at the same time, so he gets double credit. Rab, we appreciate the time as always. We'll talk to you next week. There'll be a game to talk about for sure.
Just a little bit. Thanks, Charles.
All right, Scott Rabalais from the Advocate. Take a break. First class, second class, no class is next. Hanny Time, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is Hanny Time.
Acura and Infinity of Baton Rouge. It's where I'm buying my vehicles. It's where I bought my vehicles for the better part of the last 2 decades. And in the last several years, they have remade the Acura line. The all-new MDX Type S and the Type S Advanced with turbocharged V6. All new body styles and color combinations. New body styles on the 2022 MDX, the 2021 TLX, and the TLX Type S. The RDX refreshed in 2022, and the 2023 Integra. The latest and greatest technology and styling. You can enjoy your experience at Acura and Infinity of Baton Rouge, whether on the new car side or on the pre-owned. Family owned and operated. They're going to treat you like one of theirs. Transparency in pricing. It's why I'm going back time and time again to Acura and Infinity of Baton Rouge.
In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
It's no secret. The best oysters in Baton Rouge are at Jolie Pearl Oyster Bar. Enjoy mouth-watering South Louisiana flavor and oysters from all over the country. And don't forget our nightly drink specials. Jolie Pearl Oyster Bar, located in downtown Baton Rouge.
Eli's always been into grilling. It took us a while to see it, but the signs were there.
What are you doing, Eli? I knew grilling was my thing. I have been talking about it throughout my career.
Happy with the results?
I am. Got the new grill from barbecueguys.com. It performed great.
My advice, as I always told my boys,
do more of what you're born to do.
Barbecue Guys, for those who were born to grill.
You want cheese on your burger, Pops?
I'll take a little cheese.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary, for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
I'm Jay Ducote. I grew up learning how to cook at LSU tailgate parties and right in my own backyard. And I created JD's Louisiana products to bring that Louisiana flavor to you at home for your backyard cookout. JD's Louisiana barbecue sauce, Louisiana molasses mustard, spicy and sweet barbecue rub, and more are available at your local supermarkets or by logging on to jducote.com/shop. Put in promo code CST for 25% off at checkout.
Crime has serious consequences, but anyone can make a mistake. If you find yourself in trouble with the law, know that you have rights, and it's okay to demand them. The law offices of O.C. Brown are here to protect you and your rights. Felony or misdemeanor, DUI or drug charge. No matter what crime you're accused of, you still have rights. Let the law offices of O.C. Brown uphold them. Call 225-343-1111. Your law firm for a lifetime.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs.
Join us for a Wednesday edition of Hunt and Hill. J.D. Piquel of On 3 Sports talking college football, and Jay Johnson stops by to talk about his Tigers in the fall. Hunt and Hill, 1 to 3 weekdays, 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
This is Hanny Time with Charles Annegriff on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Hanny Time. First class.
I want a seat in first class where I was booked and ticketed over a month ago.
Second class.
That no man should be subjected to the indignity of being labeled or treated like a second-class citizen.
And no class.
My life had become like school on Sunday. No class.
I'll tell you what then. Why don't you call me sometime when you have no class?
You know, we like on this segment to point out things that, maybe some stories that had, not gotten all the attention, and, some of them are funny, like when there's weights and fish and stuff. But sometimes you just got to take the obvious and add a little bit more context to it because it's worth the story. And it's why I decided to put Jaden Daniels as my first class today. Hannah, he's got 11 touchdowns the last 2 weeks. He's playing great. He's the SEC Player of the Week. I get all of that. I just thought that the young man deserved a little bit of more consideration because I had some more numbers that I wanted to get to. So Jaden Daniels for the season, just to kind of put this in perspective, this is somebody that as recently as 2 weeks ago we were talking about, and when I say we, I mean me, but the potential that they would make a quarterback change in a Tennessee game if things didn't go well. And things didn't go well in the Tennessee game, but it wasn't all his fault. So for the season, 1,812 yards passing for Jaden Daniels. Okay, what does that mean? It's 177 more than Will Levis, who's looked at as a first-round pick. It's 94 less than Bryce Young, who won the Heisman Trophy last year. Now, both of those guys have missed a little bit of time, but being available and being on the field is kind of part of the deal here. He's got a higher completion percentage than Levis, than Young, and than Will Rogers, who plays in a pretty, would you call Mississippi State a pass-friendly offense, a quarterback-friendly offense, a lot of easy throws to complete. Daniels' completion percentage is higher than Rogers. He's tied for the fewest interceptions in the conference with Hendon Hooker, who's one of the favorites for the Heisman. Stetson Bennett plays for the number one team in the country. KJ Jefferson and AJ Swan at Vandy. He's got more touchdown passes than Stetson Bennett. He's got twice as many as Anthony Richardson, who's another guy who's had first-round consideration. Oh, by the way, he's, for all you A&M fans out there, this is for Hunt. He's got more touchdown passes than Haynes King and Max Johnson combined. And he leads all SEC quarterbacks in rushing by a lot. He's got 180 yards more than KJ Jefferson, who is in second place. He's got 9 rushing touchdowns. There's only one SEC player, forget about quarterbacks, one SEC player that's got more touchdowns rushing than him. That's Quinshon Judkins from Ole Miss, and we don't really like their schedule all that much. He's fumbled. With all of this ball handling, he has thrown 1 interception, has 1 fumble for the year. He's having a much better year than he is being given credit for, okay? The 11 touchdowns the last 2 weeks have made people start to stand up and take notice. Dig into these numbers, okay? A lot better than even what I thought, because I wanted to do a little bit like, wait, where does he rank on all this stuff? It's pretty doggone good. Jaden Daniels, first class. Second class, Rab kind of touched on it because he's going to one of the women's basketball media availabilities right now. But yesterday, if you missed it, LSU women's basketball got a commitment from a top 10 player out of the Webb School, a 6'5" post player called Aaliyah Del Rosario. She is one of 2 players from that school that are in the ESPN Top 100 that LSU has gotten. To go with Michaela Williams from Parkway, who is the number 1 or number 2 player in the country, depending on what service you look at. That's 2-7, according to ESPN. The 44th ranked player in the country is named Angelica Velez. Saying that right? Velez, okay. I mean, I don't want to get fussed at. I went and looked up all these girls on YouTube to make sure that I was getting the pronouns right, okay? So Angelica Velez, who's also from the Webb School, number 44. That's 3 of the top 44. And then you go down to Janae Kent from Oak Forest High School in Illinois. That's 4 of the top 73. To go with what she's got coming back in this team. I'm not telling you anything you don't know here, but Kim Mulkey's doing a pretty good chance. This is not so much good with a chance to be great. This is a great recruiting class with a chance to be a championship club. And when she was brought here to win a national championship. Well, she's well on her way. The recruiting speaks for itself. And you know what, Mario? The school or the program does not recruit itself. I hate hearing that. Any sport. Oh, the school recruits itself. No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't. Sue Gunner recruited. Pokey Chapman recruited. Save the jokes. Van Chancellor sort of recruited. And Nikki Caldwell didn't recruit at all. Kim Mulkey's recruit. You can see the difference. Okay? The school doesn't recruit. You can't just say LSU basketball, LSU football, LSU baseball. There's a brochure. If you want to sign up, come on in. No, you got to work it. You got to work it a little bit. She's definitely working the recruiting trail. That's my second class. No class. I told you I didn't like Saban's response with the Jermaine Burton thing. I didn't like his response for a bunch of reasons. Number one, the video doesn't match his story, which is that Burton was scared. Okay, told you my story earlier in the week about being on this field. I was scared. Yes, I was scared that I was going to get trapped where I couldn't move and the goalposts were going to fall on my head. So I moved out of the way. Burton did not look in any way scared. So what was Saban's explanation? It was like, listen, you don't know the whole story, and I'm not going to tell you the whole story. So just, okay, well, if you say so, Nick, we'll just take your word for it that there's something more to the story that you can't tell us. So it gets us to my no class, which is the NFL. Did you see the video with Mike Evans? Okay. Mike Evans is walking off the field. He's in the tunnel. There's some officials. There's, in fact, there was 2 of them. Jeff Lamberth, the side judge, and Trip Sutter, the line judge. They were talking to Evans, and he scribbled something on a piece of paper. If you're watching from the outside, it looks like they are asking him for an autograph, which, of course, is against 700 rules, okay? So the NFL does an investigation. The NFL's great at investigations, aren't they? And they confirmed, this is the statement, we have confirmed that the post-game interaction between the side judge, Jeff Lamberth, and the line judge, Trip Sutter, and Mike Evans did not involve a request by the game officials for an autograph. Both officials have been reminded of the importance of avoiding even the appearance of impropriety when interacting with players, coaches, and club staff on game day, including during the pregame and postgame time periods. And that was it. What was he signing then? I'd like to know, please. You don't need to know, general public, John Q. public. You don't need to know what they were signing. You just need to know it wasn't an autograph, and that's all we're going to tell you. We have reprimanded everybody, and you should go on about your merry way, nothing to see here. Look, I'm willing to believe that there's an explanation for this if you give me a reasonable explanation for this. You don't give me any explanation for this. You just say there's nothing to see here, and now I think you're hiding something. So the NFL sends one of their network insiders to put out a report that the official was getting Evans' phone number to pass along to a golf pro. By the way, both Lamberth, the official, and Evans, the receiver, went to Texas A&M, so they know each other from back where This whole thing stinks to high heaven. And do I think that he was signing an autograph for money in exchange for some kind of preferential call on the field, which is what this is really aimed at? Hey, Mike, sign a few autographs here. We'll make sure you get a PI on a key third down. I don't think that happened here. I'm even willing to accept the Golf Pro story if these guys will get out and tell it. But here, Evan says, I wasn't signing an autograph. I'll tell you that. He's a nice guy. We were just talking about golf. Nothing to see here. If you come out and you put Lamberth out there and you say, listen, I know this golf pro, Billy Bob Nicholas, whatever his name is, okay? And Evans wanted to meet him, so I went and I got his phone number to pass along to him. Now, it still looks terrible. But if somebody calls the golf pro and the golf pro says, yeah, I asked Lamberth to get my number to Evans because I heard Evans wanted to take a lesson, okay? I'm starting to believe it a little bit at that point. If I get multiple confirmations, but I get Evans saying, nah, man, we're just talking about golf. No context. I get the league sends out this statement, yeah, they weren't signing autographs, and I don't need to tell you what they were doing. And I have an NFL Network insider. Who owns the NFL Network? The NFL, don't they? So the insider gets this story. It's all about golf. Nothing to see here. Okay. PR 101. You want to get your story out there. Information breeds confidence, and silence breeds fear and conspiracy theories. Always has. Don't know why. This is Baghdad Bob in front of the airport. The Americans are nowhere near. What's the fire in the background? They're not signing autographs for anything important. It was a guy. I'm watching him sign for these guys. I'm watching him sign something. Phone number, autograph, directions to Walmart. I don't know. But it would sure be nice if you would come out with an explanation other than just, hey, nope, nothing improper here, and you don't need to know the rest of the story. Okay, well, if I don't need to know the rest of the story, then you get to be no class this week. Take some of your questions in the chat when we come back. This is Hanny Time, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is Hanny Time.
We're looking at one of the biggest games in the last several years at Tiger Stadium next week when LSU plays Alabama. If you're tailgating, make sure that your menu includes Supreme Rice. Supreme Rice is going to stretch your food dollar. So if you got a big tailgate, you're cooking a lot of food, you're cooking a lot of jambalaya, you're cooking a lot of etouffee, you're cooking a lot of red beans, maybe even cooking up some gumbo, make it with Supreme Rice. Support our Louisiana farmers down in Crowley, Louisiana since the 1930s. Real easy to get. Stop by Rouse's. Stop by the pregame show just right off campus and pick up your Supreme Rice, one of many places that you can get Supreme Rice, whether it's the brown, the long green, the medium green, or the jasmine. It's going to spice up your next tailgate, and you're going to save some money while you're at it. Make it Supreme Rice. For more information and some unique recipes, go to supremerice.com.
Professional golfers John Peterson and J.J. Colleen answer all your golf and life questions inside the new Drop Biscuit Studios podcast for the people. Download or subscribe today at dropbiscuit.com.
Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram has $11,000 off MSRP plus 2.9% for 72 months on all new 2022 Ram Black Widow trucks in stock. All new Bayou vehicles come with a 1 million mile powertrain warranty and free delivery. If you need sales or service, the crew at Bayou is going to do right by you.
ITI's got all these programs. Once I started and learned everything about the school, it was worth it.
The challenges that ITI presented me with, it allowed me to build myself up.
All because of ITI, I actually was able to get a job within 3 months before graduation in my field.
Get the hands-on training you need for the job you've always wanted. With so many companies hiring right now, it's the perfect time to come to ITI Technical College. Enroll today for a better life.
Order curbside pickup online or with Rouse's Market Shopping app and let Rouse's personal shopper shop for you. Curbside pickup is free and you pay the same price for groceries as in-store. Use code SAINTS20 and save $20 on orders of $100 or more. That's curbside convenience. Shopper style.
Oh, yeah! Want more customers? Running Boards Marketing can help you get their attention. Imagine your brand's message on a giant LED billboard truck that can't be skipped and is nearly impossible to ignore. Running Boards Marketing is the leader in effective and affordable advertising on digital mobile billboards, which are 2 times more effective than traditional billboards. With a 97% recall rate, you'll leave a lasting impression with your customers. Visit us online at runningboardsmarketing.com so we can drive your message to where the people are.
This summer, meet Acura's heroes of performance. Only available at the Acura Summer of Performance.
This summer, visit your local Acura dealer for attractive offers on the MDX.
There's nothing better than tailgating, but it can be a lot of work. So why do it yourself when you don't have to? Let Revelry Sports and Entertainment set up your luxury tailgate on campus. Order what you want and just show up to party. Book your tailgate today at Revelry.
NFL is back. Our coverage starts Sunday at 10 a.m. with Magnolia Bluffs Football Sunday with Jimmy Ott, immediately followed by the New York Jets and the New England Patriots at noon, right here on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
B-Rex Baton Rouge Zoo and Hancock Whitney present this year's Boo at the Zoo. Boo at the Zoo is open now through Sunday, October 30th. Halloween costumes are encouraged for all guests, and every child 12 years old and under will receive a mini pumpkin, courtesy of Capital City Produce. Get your tickets online and enjoy a special line for all pre-purchased ticket holders at brzoo.org.
This is Hanny Time with Charles Hannegriff on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Tell me Kareem Hunt's on the trade block? Somebody mentioned that a while back. Cleveland wants a 4? If Buffalo ain't on the phone like yesterday, come on, man. Ask Candy, did you grow up eating duck gumbo? I have eaten duck gumbo a number of times when I was younger. My father was a duck hunter, so yes, we would eat duck gumbo. It wasn't our primary gumbo, but yes, have eaten duck gumbo a number of times in my life. Ask Hanny, if Jimbo is fired this year, next, does he get a head coaching job, or will he have to go back to being a coordinator? I can't imagine that Jimbo Fisher would ever take a coordinator's job anywhere. If he were fired and wanted to coach again, which obviously he doesn't need to do if he doesn't want to, he would probably take a path back similar to, I would say similar to a Will Muschamp. You would take a job that wasn't quite as high profile as the one that you had before that. If he wanted to coach again. Jimbo's almost 60. He may just decide, you know what, I got my money, got my ring, I'm out. But no, I can't imagine he would be a coordinator anywhere. Ask Candy, do you think that Saban is losing his grip ever so slightly? No, I don't. First of all, I'm not falling for that. This comes up every time, they have a little hitch in their giddy up. I'll go back to this. You can beat them, but you better be damn good. You better be almost perfect, okay? LSU, 2019. Best team that LSU's had in ever. Maybe best team in the history of college football. Went to Tuscaloosa, beat them by 5. LSU sent a damn NFL team to Tuscaloosa and beat them by 5, okay? Tennessee got the best team that they've had in 25 years. since the days of Peyton Manning and T. Martin when they won a national championship in 1998. Stadium was packed. Everybody was hyped. Tennessee's got their own Heisman Trophy candidate. Probably very good chance he's going to win the thing. He has a good game at Georgia in 2 weeks. Ship him the trophy. It was everything they could do to beat those people by 6 feet. And 6 feet over the crossbar might be generous. Might not have gotten over by that much. Georgia last year, best team that they've had since Herschel Walker, right? Lost to them the first time, and then beat them in the championship game. No, I don't think he's losing a thing. Do I think that this particular team, is not as good as some of the other ones? Yes. He's got to explain why Eli Ricks didn't play the first half of the season. He goes out and has a great game against Mississippi State in the first game that he plays. I got a pretty good idea why he didn't play before that, but Saban's got to explain that. Quarterbacks bailed him out a number of times, but do I think that, even with all of that, A&M almost beat him, but they didn't. Got him last year. You play a perfect game. It takes almost a perfect game to beat him. So, no, I don't think. The Jermaine Burton thing, Saban has swept disciplinary stuff under the rug to keep players on the field before. There was that thing up at the park in the middle of the night in Shreveport or Monroe, wherever it was, guns remaining where you're not supposed to be. I think they were, had a little, not an altercation with the police, but police came, pick them up. How many games were they out? Not very many, were there? So no, I don't think that he is. I don't think that he's losing his grip. I think they're beatable, but I don't think he's losing his grip. Is bacon a condiment? If it's in a Bloody Mary, I guess. Do we need to put bacon? Isn't bacon like its own category?
Man, bacon's good on everything.
Right, it's just bacon, okay? Bacon ice cream is fine. Hutton Hill is next. For Taylor and Mario, I'm Charles Hanniger saying thank you and good afternoon. Anytime, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is Anytime.
Big weekend at Big Mike's. Halloween party coming up on Saturday, and thanks to everybody who came out for Trunk or Treat yesterday. Costume contest this Saturday. Clarence the Entertainer providing the music. Going to be a lot of fun on Saturday. Music lineup starts tomorrow with tomorrow night with karaoke, and on Friday with Titanium Rain. That's your music lineup. Restaurant open late after high school football on Friday nights as we get down towards the end of the season. And happy hour drink prices all day Sunday for the NFL and the Saints game as they take on the Raiders. Big Mike's on Aspen and Denham Springs. We're kind of a big deal.